Now, today we see where Doc Rich has brought up a great point, and he has came from one of Joe Brown. I think it's Judge Joe Brown who brought up this as we see, and I'm sure a lot of people read it today. But I want everybody to pull out their books and their laws, and let's get with some of this law stuff here because we're gonna max back on that. So while we get our paperwork together and everything, you know what I'm saying, and so on and so on, you know what I'm saying, I want everybody to get out the same thing. And what we're looking at today is the is a critical look at the Navy versus Egan, which was brought by the great Joe Brown. You know what I'm saying? The Navy versus Egan, the critical look at the Navy versus Egan, Egan Federation of America. So I want everybody to pull out their books, and pull up this case. You know what I'm saying? Because it was a Supreme Court case in, like as Joe Brown said, and the one that brought it, the mighty Doc Rich. You know what I'm saying? Dropped in that fire as usual. Y'all get over to Doc Rich. You know what I'm saying? You know, when we want to sit down and have a conversation, we're going to have a conversation. But Doc Rich is dropping certain things that you should be looking at, certain things that you should hear. I don't know about all that photo op shit that y'all talking about, but Doc Rich is dropping it right and straightforward. So is the General Sarah Sultan Seti. You know what I'm saying? He's been dropping it straightforward into your chest. So was Pharaoh, you know what I'm saying, before his departure from the business on to doing whatever he's doing now, was also dropping plenty of different types of smokes. You know what I'm saying? Facts to crack backs to heat. You know what I'm saying? Boom, dipping their lying ass lips and all kinds of shit that were, said he and them was out there, exposing and so on and so on. You know what I'm saying? And I respect all of that. You know what I mean? But today, when we put out our law books on the critical look at the Navy versus Egan, is a case in which Joe Brown mentioned that has immunity in all ways, that the president has a right to do this and do that. Now, another point that I want to jump on before we move forward would be the case of uh, in New York with Allen in that case Braggs, which Joe Brown brought up another great point, and Doc Rich inviting Joe Brown to come on and speak on his platform. Both of them together rock the world with music. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, when Joe Brown mentioned it, you have to look at it that way. Now, I'm not taking nothing from Doc Rich or Joe Brown, but I said the same thing. And I'm sure a lot of people said the same thing. I said there is no way you could charge a man who's running, talking about he using campaign funds to bribe Stormy Daniels or paid Stormy Daniels for sex. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you trying to say that he paid her to keep her mouth shut, so he was the victim of a felony based on her, in a sense, bribing him. And Maxine Waters up there talking about, hey, I knew she was going to get him, her sellout crooked ass. I still believe you had a lot to do with what we saw happen in LA with Blandone and Rick Ross. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real. And I'm not talking about the rapper. I'm talking about the real Rick Ross. You know what I'm saying? I have nothing to do with the rapper. He want to name himself, that's his problem. I don't care. But the real Rick Ross and Blandone and the whole situation we saw with the cocaine era in LA that there and destroyed the black community from within. And then you jumped up in the fucking courthouse with that goofy looking black guy with the glasses on, you know what I'm saying, and the bow tie, sitting up there finagling back and forth, acting as if like you had yourself in trouble because you tried to do something and to shut you up. You know what I'm saying, to keep you in favor after you facilitated the garbage in itself, probably. You know what I mean? Let's just be honest. But in the case that we see here, you know what I'm saying, where, we see where they talking about even the documents, you know what I'm saying? We have a case here where we're looking at, it in itself, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to look at what it says. And I'm sure everybody probably did so who saw the Dark Ridge and so on. But we're going to look into it based on that. You know what I'm saying? Because we know we have a lot of treason and shit going on in our country today. You know what I'm saying? But in 1988, U.S. Supreme Court decision known as the Department of Navy versus Egan has often been interpreted to support broad presidential authority over national security, generally over access to classified information in particular, along with the United States versus Reynolds, Curtis Wright, and a law, a law, and a no, Curtis Wright, and a few others. Egan is regularly cited in support of strong, even, you know what I'm saying, unchecked executive authority and judicial difference to executive claims. It has become a cornerstone of national security law as practiced today. You know what I'm saying? Mhm. But the case has often the case has often been misunderstood. No, it has not. All right, misunderstood and misrepresented. According to a new study, I'm saying according to a new study, the PDF by Lewis, what's his name? Fisher of the Law Library of Congress, who viewed the development and interpretation of Egan in more than 180 judicial decisions. Yes, because once y'all place a law, you keep moving it around and challenging this very same law to bring it down in order to fit whatever narrative in which you are trying to fit your shit that you see letting these people in our motherfucking country and they're digging holes in the ground and down there doing chemical shit and all kinds of shit ready to attack us from all from right in our face. You know what I'm saying? But the case has often been misunderstood and misrepresented. You know what I'm saying? From what we're seeing here. You know what I'm saying? It's always in one. 180 judicial decisions. The Egan, the Egan decision was prompted a new narrow subsidiary dispute. Did the merit system protect broad and executive branch body have the authority to review and re- revocation review the revocation of a security clearance by the Navy, another executive branch body. The court conclude that Congress had not intended to permit such review. Okay, but in reaching, let's get it clear. In reaching, you know what I'm saying? Let me see here. But in reaching that straightforward conclusion, various passages in Egan strayed from the central issue and created confusion and misconceptions about the scope of executive authority and the role of the court, wrote Dr. Fisher. Among such passages was the decision of president's constitutional power, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Constitutional power accumulating in the statement that unless Congress specially has provided otherwise, the court traditionally have been, you know what I'm saying, reluctant to to intrude upon the authority of the executive in military and national security affairs. You know what I'm saying? Over time, Egan came to what do you say? Came to uh, signify the notion that the court should grant, you know what I'm saying, the uttermost defense or even absolute difference to the executive on issues of national security. Citing Egan, one court in 1993 held that the presumption of uh, reviewability, you know what I'm saying, is entirely, you know what I'm saying, inapplicable in the matter concerning the national security. This is an extreme view that would exclude the court, you know what I'm saying, altogether from national security affairs. Egan do not support that interpretation, wrote Fisher, but there is, you know what I'm saying, there is, you know what I'm saying, in a 2002, I'm sorry, in a 2002 report on on leaks of classified information, Attorney General John Ashcroft cited Egan in support of the proposition that the president has the power under the Constitution to protect national security secrets from unauthorized disclosure. This extends to defining what information constitute a national security secret and to determine who may have access to those secrets. These statements are true except for the implication that such authority is exclusively the provision of the executive. The attorney general, you know what I'm saying, conspiratorial negligence to note conspiratorial or whatever negligence to note the qualifications in Egan, which stated unless Congress has specially provided otherwise. hmm Okay, so we see, you know what I'm saying, recently observed Fisher, some courts have presented a more, uh, 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 I guess, nonchalant or whatever reading of Egan in proceedings such as, you know what I'm saying, it looked like Al Harama or whatever, and Horn versus Hadi. You know what I'm saying? Court have, you know what I'm saying, rebuffed executive arguments for complete difference in in cases where Congress has legislated to intent into a statute. You know what I'm saying? Fundamentally, Fisher conclude nothing in Egan recognized a, per, a plenary a plenary or exclusive power of the part of the president over classified documents. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But to fundamentally conclude nothing Egan recognized plenary or exclusive power over the documents classified information. See judicial interpretation of Egan, you know what I'm saying, by Lewis Fisher, you know what I'm saying, from what we see in here. You know what I mean? In itself, Lewis Fisher. Now, You know what I'm saying? I think you get that at the law library and so on. Dr. Fisher will be, I guess he's going to be given, this speech. But in this document, we see where the president do have the power to hold on to any documents that he has and to, be able to see who sees them and who don't. Especially when the documents might be 4 years of his administration documents that belongs to that president, and any secrecy that is of national security that can be released and cannot be released. Trump was the president and he had a right to protect those documents even after leaving the White House. You know what I'm saying? So we see a lot of garbage in the whole bullshit. You know what I'm saying? In many ways. We see a whole lot of the bullshit in many ways. You know? We see it even in all ways. hmm Even in all ways. You know what I'm saying? So we know that in more ways than one, you know what I'm saying? In more ways than one, we have a very serious good argument here. You know what I'm saying? We have a very good serious argument here. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We have a very good serious argument here. You know, in more ways than one. Even when we look at could Trump argue the declassified, could Trump argue he declassified documents found in the Mar-a-Lago search? You know what I'm saying? In more ways than one, yes, he can, because look who's in government. Look who's the president of the United States. Creepy Joe. Where his son and him is found for probably 50 years of his life, and put some with his son in there, have been selling out to foreign enemies in treasonous and espionage and all types of bullshit going on with them motherfuckers. So why would Trump give somebody like them his documents? Every president should have the right. Joe Biden did it with his documents. Bush did it. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at this thing more carefully. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We see the search warrant, you know what I'm saying, served at the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, raised some novel legal questions involving the national security, which they just want to tie Trump up, like Doc Rich said, and all that, and just keep tying him up so, it interfere with his time. But they don't know that none of that's working. If the federal government pursues the legal action against, there's no legal action, you know what I'm saying, over the document laws, you know what I'm saying, and obvious defense for Trump might be that the declassification, that he declassified these documents before leaving the White House. You know what I'm saying? Sitting presidents do have wide power to declassify documents, but they are supposed to go through the details procedure to do so. That's bullshit, especially when you have sabotage within the administration. Sitting presidents do have a wide power to declassify documents. That's the whole point. You know what I'm saying? But they are supposed to go through a detailed procedure. How we know he didn't do that? You know what I'm saying? This case is so unprecedented, precedent, you know what I'm saying, unprecedented, that experts argue caution before projecting how courts may respond to such an argument. You know what I'm saying? But search warrants served at the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, long appears to involve documents investigators say should have not remained in Trump's possession. Who is you to tell the President of the United States what documents should not have remained in his possession? You need to tell Creep Joe Biden that, and every Chinese, Arab, every Kurdistan, and every type of other enemy of the United States that you and the Leaving Democrats and the FBI and the CIA let in this country, that have dug in so fucking deep to where they put 6 Baphomet statues in front of 6 state buildings in the South. Get out of my fucking piece. You know what I mean? talking about the main Trump position, you know what I'm saying, after, presidency. It should remain in his possession until he's gone completely. You know what I'm saying? This development has elevated some novel legal scenarios, involving national security and classified documents. Some of the papers in the question may be, ordinary presidential documents that falls under the at Presidential Act of 1978. The law transferred ownership of presidential records to the United States government and established a record-keeping structure for the president to use going forward. However, a subset of documents being sought by the government might be classified for national security reasons. Yes, but the president is the one knows that. Isn't Donald Trump was a 4-year president, you jackass? So what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? But national security. Yeah, tell Joe Biden, let's see all his documents on the national security that he then probably burnt. You know what I'm saying? Probably had a bomb fire. You know what I'm saying? Classified documents for national security reasons. If so, the law known as Section 1924 could come into play. This provision says that knowingly removing classified documents with an intent to keep them in an unauthorized location, like the back of a Chinese restaurant, you know what I'm saying, with an egg foo young and a motherfucking six-pack of beer and a quart of pork fried rice, like in the back of Joe Biden's garage, like Hillary Clinton burning, 33,000 emails. They show the FBI is hiding evidence and documents based on creepy Joe Biden and what he did to, even with Afghanistan, and even going back to the Bush era and Bill Clinton and all them in different wars. They caused murdering hundreds of millions of people while their blood sucking son of a bitch sitting up there sucking Baphomet balls. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it straight here. But, you know what I'm saying? But talking about unauthorized location is a crime. No, it's not, because it wasn't an unauthorized location. It was a location that was surrounded by Secret Service, such as the Mar-a-Lago. He still had his security people there protecting his place. You know what I'm saying? And he even had people there. Now, from what you trying to say, the situation is you still don't have a case. And this isn't one do for all, do for other. If charges are over, if the charges are ever brought under the ladder law, you know what I'm saying, we see where that could be, you know, we could see here a ladder law, you know what I'm saying, and obvious defense for Trump might be that he declassified these documents before leaving office. If that was done, then no classified documents would mean would no classified documents would mean no crime. You know what I'm saying? Is this realistic? Legal experts say there's reason to believe that the legal argument would keep Trump out of legal peril. But they added that this is such an unusual case that it's hard to rule out any, eventualities. Yes, he do. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Presidential declassification power. The power of the president declassifying documents, which is just, we know it's another tie-up. It's just making news and conversation. You know what I'm saying? Because we know this is no more than a tie-up that ain't going to work because they still don't have a case. I don't see what case I can bring into court. I don't give a damn if you go back to 1924, the case of 1924. It still does not show that you have a case. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It still doesn't show because it says here the president, you know what I'm saying, classification and declassification power are broad. The president, as commander in chief, you know what I'm saying, is utterly responsible for classifications and declassifications. When people lower in the chain of command handle classification and declassification duties, which is usually how it's done. It's because they have been, delegated to do so by the president directly or by an appointee chosen by the president. The majority ruling in the 1988 Supreme Court case document, Navy versus Egan, which involved the legal resource of the Navy employee who had been denied secret clearance, addressed this line of authority. The president, after all, the commander in chief of the Army and Navy of the United States, according to Articles Article 2 of the Constitution, the court's majority wrote his authority to, his authority to classify and control access of information bearing the national security flow, primarily from this constitutional investment of power in the president and exists quite apart from any explicit congressional grant. Stephen Aftergood, director of the Federal American Science Project on Government Secrecy, told Politic Facts in 2017 that such authority gives the president the authority to classify and declassify at will. You see what I'm saying? Robert F. Turner, an associate director of the University of Virginia, Center of National Security Laws, told us in 2017 if Congress were to enact a statute seeking to limit the president's authority of classified and declassified national security information or to prohibit him from sharing certain kinds of information, raise it would raise serious, it would raise serious uh, separation. It would cause serious, I guess, what I'm reading wrong, separation of powers constitutional issue. You know what I'm saying? The official document governing classification and declassification action stems from presidential executive orders. But even these executive orders aren't necessarily binding on a president. The president is not obligated to follow any procedure other than those that he himself has prescribed. Al Good said, and he can change those. You know what I'm saying? The situation recalls the infamous comment by President Richard Bud Nose Richard Nixon that when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal. But the national security specialist at the blog Lawfare wrote that this is actually true about some things. Classified information is one of them. The nature of the system is, as we look here, is that the president gets to disclose what he wants. If the president appointee disagree with those actions, the president can overrule their decision. Turner said, within the executive branch, the president is the boss. So what the fuck is he talking about some classified documents? You garbage ass. Jack the Duck, not Gut Smith. And Alan Bragg's talking to Stormy Daniel bribed the president. He had to pay her to keep her mouth shut. So what is Alan Bragg's talking about again? You know what I'm saying? Fanny did not kiss ass. Will's talking about overturning some bullshit on a conversation that Raffensperger just told you, he didn't tell him to cheat no election. He didn't tell him to change the ballots. He didn't tell him to go over there and kick ass. He didn't tell him to go over there and do some falsifying of documents and give him the votes. No, he just said find the votes because I usually win that state. I probably won that state. Where are my 11,700 something votes? So what are you talking about? What case do you have? This is all to tie up Trump, like Doc Rich said, in court for as long as they possibly can to keep him, trying to make him look like a shame. He's the worst president in the whole world. While we look over at Creek Joe Biden, we do find the worst presidents and son and the whole family in the whole world. You know what I'm saying? But you look at was trying to make everybody look over at Trump. You know what I'm saying? While in return, your family have let every enemy of this country dig into this country deep and motherfucking wide to where they could just reach out and smack someone. You know what I'm saying? One key point. Could Trump cite presidential declassification power in the case? One key point is that the presidential declassification power does not continue once the president is out of the office. Well, he declassified the documents before he left, didn't he? While it is true that the president can classify and declassify at will, the same is obviously not true of the former, no, not true, of the president who, ceased to be commander in chief as soon as he leaves the office. After Good said in the interview, in August 11th, could Trump argue the declassification certain documents in private while president? That is not how the system is designed to work. Merely, proclaiming the documents, all groups of documents, declassified, and doing nothing more would not, suffice. Riley Moss, a Washington, D.C. based lawyer who works on national security case, told the Politics Facts. You know what I'm saying?